Welcome back everyone, I've been shopping again. 3D printer. I paid for this, it's not sponsored, I paid for it with my own cash. What we're going to do with it? I've printed off parts, tools, tool holders, accessories, loads of stuff. So we're going to go through them, see if they're any good or not. I'll try and super simplify what 3D printing is because a lot of people still get confused. So this is a hot glue gun. It's very, very similar really in principle to a 3D printer. So basically a 3D printer runs like this, prints things out like this. And instead of obviously hot glue sticks, it uses a plastic filament or whatever type you want to use, ABS, PLA, or there's loads of different ones. The program you put into the 3D printer is basically a computer program and it will just print out whatever you say here. Go like that. And just keep going and going, and then it will just keep going over and over the same thing to whatever size you want. A little bit more precisely than this, but you get the idea. The filament using a 3D printer sets pretty much instantly, so you can obviously build height as you go. That kind of explains it a bit more basically for you, I guess. So you can print all sorts though, really. I mean, pretty much anything you want. So here's a selection of what I printed out. I'll just go through quickly what we've got. This is for measuring brake discs, wear, DI2 tool holders, jockey wheel bits. This is for removing rotors. These are all from Part Tool, so Part Tool provide you with files that you can download to hold their tools. For example, this is a pick holder, goes on your wall. This is a tool holder for hanging your work stand on the wall. Tools, more jockey wheels, brake rotor straightener, a bottle cage, excuse the orange, more tools. Tie levers, dummy wheel for your chain, tool holders, soft jaws for your vise, service bleed blocks with cutouts. Obviously you can print normal bleed blocks. This little gadget, I'll show you what that does. These are cantilever spring covers, hydraulic cable clips. These are for SRAM AXS front derailleurs, little spacers. These are indicators for Shimano shifters. They're supposed to be red, obviously, but I just printed them while I had them. So they go inside the shifter and go against the optical window. Fork seal drivers, more jockey wheels. So I'll quickly run through some bits and pieces and give you my opinion. However, I am no expert. I've only owned this thing for 2 days. I'm not an expert on materials. I cannot CAD draw, so I can only use downloadable STL or 3MF files, but there's many, many, many out there, that's for sure. So a lot of you guys will know a lot better than me what materials to use, what orientation to use. So constructive comments on those would be fantastic. But initial impressions for me, I think I'm going to make a good use of this machine. Nothing on here I'm going to be able to sell to customers, apart from potentially these little bits and pieces like this. I certainly wouldn't be fitting these to customers' bikes, but again, it may work perfectly well for you guys. It's your own bike. Things like these tool holders, perfectly well. This bottle cage, I'm immensely impressed with this. So without further ado, let's test some bits and pieces. So these are just fresh out of the printer. These are jockey wheels, obviously. These are SRAM. I think the idea of these is you super glue them together to make one jockey wheel. Press a bearing in there. There's loads of different ones out there. You basically just obviously print the ones for your derailleur. How durable these are, I don't know. From what I've read, reports are pretty good actually. I guess it depends what material you print them out of again. Again, I repeat, I'm not an expert on this. I've only had the thing a week and there's many, many different types of materials and many different ways to print it as well. So if anyone's got good experience of jockey wheels, put some recommendations for materials you've used and settings, that'd be awesome. Yeah, they look plausible. These are Shimano. These little things here are supports. So this one printed better standing on its head. I did print it flat like that and it was a disaster. So when you print something standing up like this, you have some supports on it basically, and that basically stops it, prints it better. And these things just snap off. Look like little alien arms. But they basically snap off like that very easily. And they end up with a jockey wheel. So obviously that's a Shimano jockey wheel. And to me, that looks extremely plausible that that's going to work. These little bits just scrape off, no problem. So just drop your bush in the middle as usual. And the metal caps just drop on there as usual. And you've got a jockey wheel. So a quick look at these. These are the ones you can download from Part Tool's website. The files we download are specifically designed for their tools. They probably work with other tools as well, but obviously they work very well with these. They are designed with peg boards. So I'm not going to be using the pegs, so I changed the profile before I printed it to get rid of them. I'm just going to stick these on basically. Well, that's the plan at least. If they don't work, I'll reprint them. So these are to hold your calipers in. Perfect fit again. I've got 2 sets of calipers. One has these Part Tool accessories on. You can measure the depth of rotors. So they've got these special little points on them here. Rather than gripping the tip of the actual rotor, you grip a bit in the middle basically, give you a true reading. So yeah, they fit perfectly. DAG is for your derailleur hanger alignment gauge. This is a true pre one, it's not a Part Tool one, but it is a blatant copy and perfect fit. This one holds your preset torque wrenches perfectly. This one is for that. This little one for your valve tool, Perfect. They do two different versions of this one. Actually, you can clip it in as well. I preferred this one. Next up, a couple of brake rotor tools. So this is for measuring the thickness of brake rotors. So the idea with this is whatever the minimum spec is, if you can get it over there, you're worn out. This is 1.5, 1.55, 1.7. I mean, you press it on hard enough, it'll go obviously, but you shouldn't be doing that. 1.8 and 2 millimeters is new. So if you go down to like whatever the minimum spec is for your rotor, if this can go over it, you need to change your rotor. It's a handy little tool. Again, this is a blatant copy of other tools that are basically for straightening rotors out. This will definitely work, no problem at all. I'm not going to bend a perfectly good rotor just to show you, but there's two different ways of doing it. You can clip it on the short piece there, or on there. The two I normally use, a Union one. This is a BSC one from the UK. I guess if you do like bike packing and stuff and you want to save some weight, you could pack this. Look at that, it's literally a blatant exact replica, I think. This little thing is designed to scrape off oil from jockey wheels, basically. I'm not sure how well that's going to work. So on this one here, basically, you'd spin it around on the derailleur and scrape off rubbish. But yeah, I'm not sure how effective that's going to be. Probably with a handle, it might be a bit better, but it's a bit too... You're just going to get covered in rubbish, aren't you? Right, yeah, the idea is there. These are obviously clamps for hydraulic hoses on frames. I've already used these on frames. They work perfectly well. They've got a real nice little stretch to them. They don't shatter. These are going to work perfectly. These cost you virtually nothing. You can print 320 of these at a time, and it costs you, I think it was around about £3 for 320, something like that. So they cost virtually nothing. Do any colour you want as well. I think these will work perfectly, but you might need to use a different filament that's more UV resistant. Everything I'm showing you today, by the way, is in PLA filament. Well, like I say, there's many different ones, ABS and stuff that may be more appropriate. I'm learning. This is an example of a poor print here. It's not really supported. I think this was printed this way. In reality, it probably should have been printed on its end with some supports, but again, there's different ways of doing it. So this is a service bleed block. You put that in, it keeps one piston in the brake and allows the other one to be pushed out of cleaning. This is exactly the same. You get this as a pair, basically. So you put it into the caliper, squeeze your lever and it pops out one piston, not all the way, but it pops out enough to clean the outside of them. So these are going to work perfectly well. You're not going to break these. These would be fantastic. There's many different ones of these that you can download and print. Also printed some bearing drifts as well. So these are a perfect fit again. This is from the BSC aluminium set. You just print off whichever one you need. This is for a dub bottom bracket, so you just use two of these to press the bearings in. Again, you print off wheel bearing ones, any size you want pretty much. I have a part tool set stuck up here, but you could easily replicate that with whatever sizes you need for your bike. Oh, no doubt these would easily press a bearing in without damage. Pretty solid they are. So a very basic sort of threaded rod or small press like this. Just make sure the centre hole fits or whatever you're using. Yeah, they definitely work as well. Again, this bottle cage, really impressed with this. If you know what you're doing, which I don't obviously, but you could actually change this design, I guess, to put a logo in there or your initials or anything. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Fitment wise, perfect. That's not going anywhere. Another tool holder. Since it's not part tools file, I don't think. Can't remember. But again, perfect fit for your CT3. Very nice. So these are fork seal drivers for fitting new seals into your suspension forks. Print whatever size you need. This will definitely work. I've not got a fork ready at the moment in this size, but 100% this is going to work. Super strong tool workers. It doesn't take much effort to hammer them in anyway. 100% confident that would work perfectly well. Part tool 10.3 work stand, screws to the wall and stand hooks on there. So I'm going to be printing a few of these out. These are pretty substantial. Again, no reason to doubt that's not going to do what it's designed to do quite nicely. So this is obviously a dummy hub. So when you take your wheel out and you want to hang your chain on, you do that. However, you can use your axle to do the same thing, and you can buy a tool that basically slides on your axle, a through axle or a quick release. However, you can obviously print one as well. So I don't have any, like I say, I don't have any CAD experience. However, if you use AI, this was done on Gemini, ask it to design a tool for you. Say I want a chain retention device that will go on the through axle or quick release. Within 30 seconds, it'll write you a file that does this job perfectly. So this fits a through axle. Then I asked it, what about quick release? It says, well, so I'll design you a little adapter that goes in there. So this will work on a 12mm through axle or quick release axle. Basically slides on and gives somewhere for your chain to hang while you're doing work on your bike. So I'm getting fantastic. So you don't actually need CAD experience. There's two tools I've asked it to do now, and it's done it perfectly, instantly. And then you just transfer that file into your software, and away you go. Half an hour later, you've got this. Again, I asked it to design this for the thumbnail that you saw. Basically just erase text on a black back. So most printers can change sort of filament colors halfway through. So this starts off as a black, and then halfway through the print, you tell it to change to whatever color you want. So I changed it to orange. So again, that was done on AI. In probably 30 seconds, it wrote the file to do that. So you don't need super duper CAD experience. AI can help you out dramatically. So yeah, really good. This is a tool to hold your Di2 cable tools. That basically goes in there, and that goes in there. Again, this will screw to the wall. I'm not sure how well that fits, so I think they're going to fall out, so potentially a bit of modification required then. Again, these may be for magnets, and they're asking you to stick a magnet on this, I'm guessing. There's a lot of magnets involved in 3D printing is what I'm finding out. A lot of files ask you to use magnets and stuff, so that would work very well if you did that. So master link pliers, again, this is designed to work with magnets. You see the holes in there, and that would just clip in there perfectly. Stuff like this is just perfect for 3D printing. It really is. You can't go wrong. You're not going to break it. It's cheap as chips, any colour you want, and you get it within an hour or so. Just before we continue, I want to take a minute to thank this channel's ongoing sponsor, sportandleisure.com. Sport and Leisure are a UK-based cycling retailer with thousands of parts, tools, clothing and accessories ready to ship. Their listings are clear with proper descriptions and really good photos of the actual items you are buying, which I genuinely appreciate. Some of the other sites I've had to use, oh my god. And here's the best bit. If something's listed as in stock, it really is sitting on the shelf ready to go. Better still, you can order before 3 PM and it ships the same day. UK shipping is free on all orders, but if you need it next day, it's only £2.50, an absolute bargain. If you're after new wheels, brakes, or even full group set or levers, their prices are pretty much unbeatable. You can still use code BCR10 at checkout on your first order for an extra 10% off the already great prices. So the link's in the description below. Thanks again to sportandleisure.com. As you've probably seen, I have many chainwear tools. I normally stick with this one. It's a fantastic bit of kit. Or the other Junior one there. This is for SRAM flat top chains, a slightly different one. But you can pretty much, they all do the same job at the end of the day. My advice for chain tools is once you get one, stick with that one. Because if you use this one, this one, this one, this one, you tend to get a bit of variation. You don't know which one to trust. So if you get one, just stick with that and believe it. However, you can print one obviously. So this will hook in the same as a normal one. And drop down here and tell you if your chain's worn out. So according to this chain is completely toast, so we'll check it with a normal tool, I believe. Drop this Junior in there, turn the dial around, and sure enough, that's 1% there, completely toast. So it's right on that one. However, what does it do on a new chain? So it's brand new chain on this one, hook this in, and it actually says, I mean, if you're very gentle with it, it would say that it's okay, but look how much effort it doesn't take. I can just push that all the way through. And I know that's a brand new chain, so I don't trust that at all. So yeah, I don't think I'd trust it for a chain, that's for sure. There's so much flexibility in the important bit. You can get it into anything basically, so probably not on that one. This chain tool is an exact replica basically in plastic of the fantastic Abbey tools. Very, very posh chain tool. I'm not going to use this, I don't have the time to try this at the moment, but the idea is basically the same as theirs. It seems to be a blatant copy, but obviously made of plastic. How well that's going to perform, who knows, but it's out there to download. But personally, I'll buy the real thing because it looks amazing. So older Shimano cantilever brakes, this plastic cover on the back deteriorates over time, UV, whatever. So if you do have that problem, print yourself a new one. There's different files out there for different cantilevers. This one's not for this brake, but the idea is very similar, obviously. It's got its hole there. Again, I've got no reason to doubt that won't do the job perfectly well. Again, I've already showed you these. These come as a set of 3 for SRAM AXS front derailleur. This is a little wedge so you can set the angle of the derailleur. And again, the files are out there. This costs you virtually nothing to print. I ordered these from AliExpress, not this set, but I had to order a set for a customer last year, and they're about £10, so some serious amount of profit in there. But yeah, they're available. Next up, we're going to do some destructive testing on tools. I've already tested a couple of these. I've tested this one, I've tested this one, I've tested this one, I've tested this one, and actually I've already tested this one. So you see footage of that coming up shortly. I've not tested this one yet. This is allegedly going to take your cassette off, so we're going to give this a go first, and then we'll go through the rest of the tools. These 3 tools here are designed to take 40 Newton meters of torque. I'm sorry, but I don't care how good you are. If you can design a 3D printed tool that's going to take 40 Newton meters of torque, then please let us know how, because I'm pretty damn certain none of these are going to do it. So on my community post, I did ask, and people say, well, you can print it in different orientations. So some of these I printed out twice. I printed it out this way, I printed it out this way, and I've also done this with different levels of infill. So I think this is 100% infill on this one, so it's quite a bit heavier. But the file you get from the internet, I mean, there's absolutely no way, look at that, that's going to take a bottom bracket out. But if you look at some of these, I think you're being rather optimistic. Potentially if you're super desperate and you can't wait for a bike shop and you're going to try and get your rotor off, you might just about get away with some of this stuff, but there's no way you could use this day-to-day use, absolutely no way. Please prove me wrong, no problem. I'm not going to be changing my bolt tools for these though, that's for sure. Anyway, let's get into the testing for some of these. So this one here is designed to take your cassette off. However, I think you can already see a design flaw on this one. That's not going over that axle because it's not hollow. So it shows you some of these designs that you get out there are done by people that actually never even use the tools, because that won't fit anything at all. And even if it did, I can guarantee you this is going to shear straight off. Let me see if I can find something I can use it on, but it's definitely not going to fit the vast majority unless you take your axle out first, but that's just stupid. Obviously a proper tool is hollow, so you can get it over the axle. There's basically nothing you can use these on because they're not hollow. There's a few others out there that I've seen, a few other designs, but honestly guys, you're never ever going to get 40 Newton meters on these tools. 3D printing is great for some stuff, for torque tools, no chance. Let me demonstrate. Next up we have this tool to fit a bottom bracket. This is the most optimistic one of the lot, I think. I mean, it fits, kind of fits. So it's 40 Newton meters we've got to get on this, yeah? Onto these. Let's go. I'm struggling to think of any time this would be useful for you, because there's no way on this planet this is going to get anywhere near tight enough. So sort of finger tight at the moment. Now we're just going to tighten this up to its 40 Newton meters. Oh no, can you believe it? Oh no. No, it doesn't work, guys. I need to print another one now. There you go. 3D printed tool for fitting preload caps on Shimano cranks. Fitment's pretty good. It has a little tab here as well to flick up this safety cap when you want to release it, which is very handy. The same on the metal one that I use. And then we just screw this in. This will work, no problem, because there's no real torque added to this. Excuse the grease all over, I've just installed it. And you just screw it in. But all you're doing is getting rid of lateral play on this bottom bracket here, so that's enough there. So yeah, that's going to work perfectly well. You can even hang it up, I guess. But this feature here is good because, like I say, it will just let you flick that up, which is nice. Obviously make sure you put it back when you fit it, so yeah, that's good. Next up, one for fitting your rotor. Torque this up to 40 Newton meters. I think we're being a bit optimistic, we'll try it anyway. 1/2 inch, fits. Let's try this. Jesus. Obviously I have the right tool, I'm just doing this for you guys as a bit of an experiment. Right, 40 Newton meters this is set to, and that's what you need. Making some funny noises. Not working. All that's done basically is shear that off there and get stuck to my torque wrench. Another one doesn't work. Honestly, I don't know what any of these things are going to work. 40 Newton meters is just hopelessly optimistic for 3D printed tools. You've got a massive crack in it there, look. Fail. I wasn't far off torque, to be fair. I mean, I've only just nipped that up ever so slightly more, so I probably had it on tight enough. It just failed before the torque wrench would register it. So next up we've got this for centering calipers onto rotors. This is a brand new rotor, brand new caliper, never been fitted. I've never tried this before, so the idea, obviously, it just slots onto the rotor and it's the exact same size as the caliper width, lengthwise. So you drop that in like that, and in theory that should perfectly center the caliper to the rotor. So I'm just going to squeeze the lever on and hold it, tighten these two bolts up like you normally would. And in theory this should be perfectly centered. If this works, this will be fantastic. I'll take it out, put the pads back in, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so now I'm going to do squeeze the lever several times to set these pads in and see if it rubs. Alright, lever feels really good. Let's give her a spin. Wow, it worked. Wow, I'm absolutely blown away. That's a game changer. It's literally perfect. I'm looking at it from the other side and it's literally perfectly centered. Awesome. Next up is this little cap here. Clips into your Shimano preload cap. Allows you to put a tape measure in here and measure your saddle height. So I need to set this to 685 for the customer. I have already done this, but I'll just show you how it works. So you just clip that in there, line it up with your seat post, and then you can measure it to the top. 685. I mean, there's literally nothing stopping you just doing that. I get it. Okay, does what it says, and it also acts as a preload adjuster as well, so yeah, not bad. Soft jaws for vices, I have many different sets, all made of aluminum. So how do these perform? So this print here, there's got holes here for magnets, so normally you would super glue magnets into these so they would stick onto your jaw. I've not done that for the purpose of this video, but that's the intention. I don't know why they're so wide. It doesn't need to be anywhere near this massive. All right. So the idea is obviously you clamp pieces in here in soft jaws so you don't damage them. This is a steel, this is actually a tool. But being in a vise, normally people need to crank these things pretty damn tight for whatever they're doing. That's why it's in the vise normally. So I'm going to crank this down quite hard. And that's doing nothing. Brilliant. So with magnets stuck on there, I think they'd actually perform extremely well. And there's no damage to that at all. Perfect. Good. However, these are going back in. I do already have some nylon ones that I actually purchased. These are the magnets I'm talking about. And these are from AliExpress. I've got loads of different sets, but they're fantastic. You can't do without these things, honestly. On the subject of vices, I think it's probably one of the most used tools in this workshop. You'd be surprised. So my normal tire levers, Pedro's. We're going to try 3D printed and see if these will work. Everyone needs tire levers. Oh dear, it's not looking good. That's a hard no. They don't work either. Jesus. So this no doubt comes down to my complete lack of knowledge on how to print these things better. Like I say, I've only had this thing a few days, so I'm still on a very, very steep learning curve. I'm just printing things out at the moment. Don't get me wrong, not all going to be rubbish. Some things are definitely going to work very, very well, but for the sake of tools, I think I need to probably revisit this video with some advice from you guys on materials and techniques, because clearly that's never going to work. Let's try again. So I've spoken to AI, and they're giving me some fresh settings for the printer that might give these half a chance of working. So let's see how these go. It's the beauty of that. You can, if it doesn't work, you can print yourself another one. This took half an hour to print. Pushing my luck going for that far. It kind of works. That worked. There you go. Still in one piece. So there you go. You can modify the setting quite easily. Like I say, that was half an hour to print a new set. Obviously, you could just go to a shop, but worst case scenario, like I say, middle of the night, you've got a race or something the next day and you've broken your tyre levers, you can get it to work. Not the best tyre lever in the world, I'll give you that, but they work. I've just dropped some of the settings on screen that might mean something to you expert guys. So it's basically 100% infill, different speeds and whatnot, so it's basically a solid lever now instead of that matrix that you saw in the inside of the broken one. So quite easy to modify if need be. Hope you found that interesting, maybe useful. Maybe you're going to rush out and buy one, maybe you're not. For me personally, I thought it's probably the time to get one. And there's some stuff like those tool holders, they're just fantastic. You know, there's a lot of that stuff is going to be absolutely awesome. Tools, yeah, hit and miss. Depends. If you're putting any sort of turning force on it, it's just no chance. Things like bleed blocks, yeah, they're going to work all day long, no problem. But anything where you've got to exert some significant force on it, not going to work, guys. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy the content, check out some of my other videos. If you've not already done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And thank you very, very much for watching.